What? Is that the smallest mug on the planet? Or cup?
It's an espresso mug.
My daughter has some of those in her tea set.
If your daughter had any class, she would drink this espresso. That'd be fun. That's a little tea party I could engage in.
She did.
Got to operate an espresso machine.
It's like, I think it was last week or whatever. I picked her up from school and she got in the car. And, you know how kids are. They're like, oh, they're all happy and whatever.
Yeah.
And she looked in the back of like one of her books and saw cursive. And she's like, Daddy, I learned how to write my name in cursive. I'm going to write in cursive for the rest of my life. And I'm like,
actually, you're going to be typing for the rest of your life.
It's like, that's going to last a solid.
Dad, I learned hieroglyphics today. Great.
It's going to last a solid second, maybe probably through third grade. And then like from there on out. Yeah. I didn't feel like crushing her dreams.
But incredible handwriting. I could really write well. And I can't, I've said this many times, but in the amount of time it takes to write out a check, which increasingly doesn't happen either, but my hand cramps up. I can barely sign my name.
Just imagine you're like trying to pay for avocados and you're just like, ah!
Yeah, that's like etch an X in it. Just here, take it.
The only person I know who writes checks on the regular is actually my mother.
Yeah, there's not a lot of check writing, obviously, but
no, my mom also turned like nearly 70 this week or last week. So I mean, it kind of explains why.
You're gonna lose the great source of humor with the advent of checks going away, because this is like it was probably Dennis Miller back in the day, but kind of a Bill Burr type joke where you wait in line behind someone at the checkout counter at a supermarket or something, and they ring everything up, and then she's like, "Oh, I should start writing out my check," and you're like, "Come on." Because people won't even know what the humor is there. They're just putting their iPhones through or whatever, and little Apple Watch thing.
Yeah, I wish Kroger would get off their stupid high horse or whatever they're on and start taking Apple Pay. That would make my life a lot better. Or any NFC payment from any vendor.
So you've probably, because you have an Apple Watch, you have, and maybe not this year, but you've flown and have probably used your watch to check into a plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever year the Apple Watch first came out, I bought one, and I must have been JetBlue. I was flying on JetBlue probably from Boston, and I'm like, here we go. I get the JetBlue. It's like a little barcode or something, and I walk up to the machine to flash my watch under it, but the gap under the scanner was like you could put like a paper ticket under there.
God.
Yeah, you could. It was too with my wrist, like I couldn't fit it in. I was like, come on. Yeah.
Which that sort of reminded me, I repaid or whatever, renewed my TSA pre-check. That was a good use of money for this fall.
Just got an email about that. My TSA pre-check apparently lapsed back in September.
But yeah, that's about, I think mine, maybe October somewhere.
We were in the process of getting our, what do you call the international version?
Clear ID, cleared?
No. Well, whatever that, you know what I mean, whatever it is. And then the pandemic hit, and so I get routine emails like, "Hey, there's no wait there's no lines, no waiting at this facility near Philadelphia," and it's like, I'm not paying for this. Like I don't know. So there's going to be a rush on that stuff, when it finally does open up again. But yep, I'm dropping everything, dude. Like frequent flyer miles are a thing of the past, and it was a problem anyway. That was a problem when I moved here anyway. But yeah. I get all these emails from Mileage Plus and United and blah, blah, blah. And one by one, I'm like, unsubscribe. Like, it just doesn't, none of this matters anymore,
Yeah. This is a great tech podcast. I was having a conversation with my wife yesterday, and my wife has always wanted to go to Turks and Caicos. I don't know explicitly why, but she's interesting. She's always wanted to go there. And I was like, you know what? Let's go there in December. And she's like, well, the kid's in school. I was like, damn it. And I was like, well, we can't do it in the spring.
Actually, by December.
But the problem is I don't want to take my kid out of school for it. Like
I don't think you have to. I think your kid will be taken out of school, and then, you can do remote learning from anywhere. Just what you do is when she starts remote learning again, you do that thing where you can make the background look like a tropical paradise.
Sweetie, stay here with the iPad. Mommy and Daddy are going to go drink Mai Tais on the beach.
No, I mean, that way, when you actually get to the place, you just turn it off, and no one will even know the difference.
Is that an ocean? No, it's a bathtub.
Yeah, just bring the rubber ducky or whatever. It'll be fine.
I don't know. We were looking at it's not going to happen in spring break because we obviously got to save up for something like that. And then I was like, well, let's go first week of December. She's like, kids in school. And it's like, you're already ruining my dreams, per usual. Like, let's just not worry about things.
Well, the role of my spouse is to throw water on every fire I light.
I was like, because I was like to go to this place like all in for a week, and this is including flights and everything. Is we could do it for about $4,000. Which isn't cheap. I mean, that's not nothing. But
no, but you haven't. I mean,
but if you have a year to save for
gone
it,
anywhere this year. I
yeah,
mean, it's
like we haven't paid for a vacation. Oh, there's my furnace right on time. But like, we look at it as like, okay, if we're going in a year, we can save $400 a month, and that's like we can do that. And then she just, whatever. Here we are.
We didn't go on a home swap. We didn't do any, obviously no trips, anything like that. Right? It's like, and I keep saying to my wife, like, how come we don't have an extra $10,000 sitting around?
I was like,
but we haven't done all this stuff. We should have all this extra money. We don't go out to eat every single day.
Mm-hmm.
We basically go to a restaurant once a week and then have, like fast food type stuff twice a week, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, we should be swimming in money.
Yeah. Paul's like, I got some iPhones and Macs I need to buy.
Yeah, well, I do. Actually, that's a weird issue, right? So, for example, I'd like to buy one of these new Macs, and I bought what do you call it, a MacBook Air earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
The one that doesn't have the proper cooling. It's nice. And what I'd like to do is just trade that in.
Yeah.
And they don't let you trade in a 2020 Mac. You can't do it. Can't trade in a new Mac. Now, I thought once they replaced it with something new, that would make it eligible for trading it. And I don't know, maybe it has to be 2021. I don't know. So
that's going to be great. Apple's over like, no, we don't want those Intel ones back. Like, they're garbage.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so that was the other one. So I must have clicked something wrong, but my daughter has the previous version, so it's probably like a 2019 version. So I was going to have, when she comes home this weekend, I'm going to swap them out and I can trade those in. But the first time I went through the wizard they have, it's like, what year is it? What's the specification? And it's like, your Mac is ready to be recycled. I'm like, it's a 2019. I don't know.
It's just a guy with a shotgun, just like, it's time.
Yeah, he'll be on a farm hunting rabbits. He'll love it.
Speaking of other things, Photoshop is coming to ARM, conveniently timed with the Mac launching. I mean, Microsoft's had their ARM stuff out for a while, but they're like, and now all of a sudden it's available on.
There's been these kind of low-level indications that maybe someday this would come to Windows 10 on ARM, And I got to be honest, I kind of never expected it to happen.
Yeah.
And I fully expected them to support Apple Silicon, of course, because they're switching over their entire product line, and that's a big market for them,
Mm-hmm.
Adobe, that is. So, yeah, I mean, how horrible would it have been this morning if Adobe's like, yeah, it's already ready, it's out on Apple.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Nothing about Windows. Windows 10 on ARM's been around, 3 years now?
Yeah. When does Max launch Friday? Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah.
This week? Are they launch? I don't even know.
Friday. Yeah.
Friday. Yeah. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. No, I'm very interested in this topic. I can't wait to see what happens.
And if you're looking to buy an Xbox, you might as well just start rolling the dice and hope you get lucky about.
If you have $500 burning a hole in your pocket, get Game Pass and have a fun 6 months. And then you'll still have $450, and you can put that toward the Xbox, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be, according to the CFO of Xbox, it's going to be tough to get one. Tough meaning like just waltz into a Best Buy and pull one off the shelf. Yeah. Till roughly April. They're predicting.
I guess. So actually, let me ask you, because I was just going over the comments, and of course you wrote the article about this, and there are people speculating, what's the problem? Why can't someone go to Xbox.com or whatever and say, I want to buy one of these things. I don't care when it comes. Just put me in the queue. And, if you do that with Apple, Apple will say your new iPhone, whatever it is going to arrive on December 12th, and it will. It always will. Like, they're always right. Microsoft can't do this. So do you think this component supply, I kind of ruined my guess. Do you think that this issue is related to Microsoft's incompetent, or is it related to component shortages, which is my guess? Or is it related to this? They just don't have this supply chain command that Apple does, and they have no accurate way of knowing when anything's going to happen and can't predict anything. Like what is
I
the
think
actual?
I honestly think it might be number 3. Now, I think that Microsoft probably has a decent idea of when things should arrive, but they use. And now I don't know Apple's supply chain nearly as well as I do Microsoft's, but Microsoft uses a lot of third parties for their distribution.
Right.
And so it may just be that they don't have as tight integration. They don't know. They don't want to make false promises. They don't make. Consoles come out every 7 years, so this is just how it always is. Sony has the same thing. And
That's true. Yeah, and the volume is lower. I mean, over the lifetime, I don't know what the numbers are. Well, no, I do know what the numbers. So over the lifetime of PS4, they've shipped like 100 million units. So a little
that's
north
like
of 100 million.
2/4 of an iPhone.
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, it might even be less depending on the quarter. I mean,
Yeah.
Huawei Huawei has a brand called Honor that they're selling off because of the U.S. sanctions. That brand sold 70 million units a year. I've never even heard of these things. You know what I mean? I have really, but I mean, you don't see them anywhere here, certainly. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, 100 million sounds like a lot of units, but compared with the stuff Apple sells, no. So yeah, maybe that's part of it.
I bet there's also a pretty definitive, like it. You could see the issue with, let's say, let's just pretend that they only have one supply or whatever production line running. Well, because we know the numbers are probably in a couple million in a year, like to spin up another line and run all that, the cost and return is probably just not worth it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can't remember where this was going to be. I almost wrote something to that effect, or maybe I did. So anyway, the thought is Microsoft's and Sony too, right? They're making this expensive thing. They are going to sell these products at a loss right now. They have to. The components are just too expensive. The hope over time is that component prices come down and they can sell these things not at a loss, right? And of course, then they'll do cost-reduced versions and all that stuff. But in the short term, what you don't want to do is build too many of something at a high price and then lose so much money that recovering from it becomes harder. So you're kind of threading a needle between meeting the needs of your customers who want to buy this thing, but you also don't want to flood the market with, money. Every one of these things is losing money, and now they're going to sit there, and then the component prices come down, and now it's March, and you're like, oh, instead of having these things out in the world, I could be building them now at a lower price, lower cost, I guess. I don't. Did I say that properly? I don't even.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, you don't want to surface RT the situation.
Yeah,
I don't think
right.
that's
not
necessarily.
Not that they would build hundreds of, millions of things and not be able to sell them, but rather, you almost want, like, say you could sell 20 million of them. You almost don't want to sell 20 million of them at a loss, right? You kind of want to sell 10 million of them at a loss, and then the next 5 at less of a loss, and the next 5 after that at less of a loss, and then maybe after that you start selling them at a profit. It's a weird line to have to kind of land on, because you obviously don't want to disappoint people, but you're Microsoft. You should be used to it by now. I mean,
Wow.
Sorry. Microsoft.
So anyways, good luck getting one. It's not that they won't come back in stock. It's just that they are going to be in limited supply. So if you see something pop up and says, hey, they're available, you should probably buy it then, or forever hold your peace. At least hold it until April, May, somewhere around there.
The thing is, as both you and I have pointed out, and probably everyone else on Earth who's reviewed these things, what's the excitement about here? I mean,
Yeah.
right now, I mean, like, yes, it's something new and shiny. I get that, obviously. It is very fast. But as far as, like, the games and stuff, I mean, you're just playing the same games. Like, there's literally nothing new. So, I don't know.
So
By the
here's
way-
a little interesting tidbit for you. So you had the problem with your Xbox shutting off playing Black Ops. One of my friends who I play with has that same problem, but it's on an Xbox One.
Oh.
And it's only with Black Ops.
This is the new Black Ops. Yeah, so what Brad is referring to is I seem to have problems over the weekends with Xbox. Oh, no, this was Friday. So I guess it was last Friday. You kind of conclude the day at sometime in the middle of the afternoon, end of the afternoon, turn the Xbox on. I'm going to play some Call of Duty. I get into the new Call of Duty. I'm in there for like 30 seconds, a minute. And first it freezes.
Mm-hmm.
Then the screen goes blank, and then the controller's still lit up, and and I look down on the floor, and like the console's off, and like turned off. I'm like, huh, that's not good. I got to say, I play a lot of Call of Duty. I've never seen that happen before. So, start the thing. By the way, thing starts right up. And one of the nice things is when it crashes, comes from a dead stop. This thing comes up in it's like 10 seconds. It's crazy. Get back into the game. Same thing happened. I'm like, oh crap, So I ended up playing on the Series S over the weekend. And by the way, I got to say on that note, I don't really notice any difference in this game between the two consoles. I really don't. I'm sure there's some small difference, but multiplayer especially, which is what I've been doing, obviously they're optimizing.
Yep.
Frame rate, whatever. Anyway, so I said to you yesterday, I told you the problem. I'm like, I'm going to uninstall the game and reinstall, see if that works. And when that doesn't work, I'm going to pave the console, go back to a new install, then reinstall from there and see if that doesn't work, I guess I'm going to have to go to Microsoft. And there should be no problem. There's so many of these out in the world that have no problem replacing it, so that'll be good. But actually, it turns out deleting the game and installing it seemed to have worked. I played on that console yesterday, and it was fine. Now, I don't remember the number. It's 130 gigs or something. It's a big game. Something like that. It's big. It's 90s. I don't know. Took a while.
Yeah, takes a little time.
I started it in the morning, went to the gym, worked, ate lunch, worked. I looked at it in the afternoon. It was done, so I don't know when I finished, but takes a lot of gigs to play those 6 levels, over and over and over again. It's fun, Call of Duty.
And it's over.
I don't know why I do it.